Stultifera Navis, Latin for Ship of Fools, is an allegory that originates from Plato's Republic. Plato describes a ship where none of the crew knows how to sail, but they are constantly fighting among each other to captain the ship. And if someone who does know how to sail comes on board, they'll be seen as an useless addition because the crew doesn't understand sailing. After Undertides, we return to Iberia once more to search for the lost golden ship that holds Ager's secrets. The titular Stultifera Navis, the Ship of Fools. The story begins with Calcit and the oldest Iberian inquisitor, Saint Carmen. The three abyssal hunters are heading for the town of Grand Pharoah, as well as the band alive until sunset, whom Carmen recognizes as great beasts. The two inquisitors from Undertides, under orders from the Inquisition, are also on their way. To deal with the threat of the ocean, Carmen requests Calcit's assistance. In the church in Grand Pharoah, Elysium waits for alive until sunset, and grows acquainted with an Ager boy named Jordi, the church caretaker. The band enters the town, attracting onlookers who wonder what the Inquisition is doing to allow so many outsiders in. Aya sees Jordi and asks what is on the statue in the middle of the town, and Jordi says it's a lighthouse. After Aya leaves, the mayor, Diego, tells Jordi not to involve himself with foreign Agers, lest he gets in trouble with the Inquisition. Alti finds Elysium in the church, who is excited to see her, being a fan and all, and he hopes that Calcit arrives soon. A follower of the Church of the Deep conspires with a local, saying that they must take control of the lighthouse before the Inquisition, when they are suddenly attacked. Elysium hears a commotion outside, and when he heads for the square, he finds a dead sea terror by the lighthouse statue. The locals panic and want to get the Inquisition, but Diego refuses, saying that the Inquisition will make matters worse. A local author named Amaya asks to take care of the corpse. Elysium returns to the church, where Calcit is already there because she is Calcit. She says she's still under Iberian supervision, and asks Elysium to follow Amaya and Diego. After he leaves, Alti gives Calcit a key. The Church of the Deep follower who escaped reunite with his companion, and they decide to arrange a funeral for the sea terror per their bishop's teachings. Meanwhile, Amaya and Diego inspect the corpse, and Amaya suggests that it may have been killed by an inquisitor, causing Diego to leave in search for them. A male abyssal hunter emerges from the shadows, and when the church followers arrive, both he and Amaya are gone. There's a knock on the church door, and the followers enter with the sea terror corpse. They ignore Calcit and Alti, and one of them tries to assimilate the sea terror into himself, but they are killed by Carmen. Sea terrors begin to flood the town as the remaining Church of the Deep followers attempt to stall for time. The three abyssal hunters come, and Gladia goes to find Calcit while the other two fend off the sea terrors. She meets Carmen in front of the church, who tells her that without the Inquisition's help, she won't reach the lighthouse or find a ship called Stultifera Navis. After talking to Calcit, Gladia agrees to working with the Inquisition. The dying sea terrors begin to glow, leaving some kind of organic substance on the ground. Gladia says there are vestiges of the deep, essentially another form of the sea terrors, acting as a nest for them to grow on. The male abyssal hunter, Opian, intends on finding Stultifera Navis before Gladia, and for this reason he temporarily keeps Amaya alive. Meanwhile, Elysium, tracing the source of the sea terrors, finds the church followers burning documents. He realizes it's related to the lighthouse, and tries to salvage what he can, but Opian comes and cuts up the remaining papers. The locals, believing that Jordi is connected with the Church of the Deep, try to turn him in to the Inquisition. While escaping, Jordi is captured by Opian, who tells him that he's the descendant of the Agerian designer Brogan, and that he needs Jordi to find Brogan's legacy. Jordi says his parents are lighthouse keepers, and he doesn't know what Opian is talking about. Elysium uses a smoke emitter to rescue Jordi, while the High Inquisitor Dario and Irene stop Opian from pursuing. It's revealed that Stultifera Navis contains Brogan's legacy. Although it supposedly sank along with the rest of Iberia's fleet during the Silence, Carmen believes that it is still out there somewhere. On the suspicion that he might be Brogan's descendant, Carmen orders the Inquisitors to take Jordi along. With Gladia holding the key, the Inquisitors, Jordi, and the Hunters head for the lighthouse. In legend, the last knight of Casimir's returned to Iberia. He fought the waves until he disappeared, and his family found his belongings by the shore. His story was engineered and spread in Casimir's, but some believe that the knight has conquered the waves, and continues to chase it to this day. The last knight stares at the key Gladia holds, and she realizes that he has become a seaborn. By some miracle, he persists in his original goal, and attacks the lighthouse thinking that it's an ocean wave. Jordi and Irene climb the lighthouse to reactivate its systems, while Dario remains behind to defend against the sea terrors. The activation of the lighthouse made the last knight notice that it is in fact not a wave, and he rides off into the ocean. Searching through the lighthouse records, Jordi finds out that Stultifera Navis has been signaling for the past few decades, and through it he determines its location. Dario sends Irene with the Hunters to find the ship, and Jordi, believing that it is his duty, stays behind with Dario to wait for Carmen's reinforcements. The Hunters and Irene successfully board the ship. As they discuss where to find Brogan's legacy, a seaborn appears on the deck. Gladia attacks it, but it manages to evade the hit, and escapes into the cabin. They decide to split up, with Gladia heading downward and the rest pursuing the seaborn. They find another, smaller seaborn in the hull, and they call Scotty Isharmla and Spectre Laurentina. Her own name surprises Spectre, and she begins to recall her memories. The seaborn from the deck leads them to a golden throne. It kneels down beside it, and a man walks out from behind it. He is Captain Alfonso, the greatest captain of Iberia, and the king of the Ship of Fools. The seaborn is Garcia, his first officer and his lover. Because the ship's engine was destroyed, they have been floating on the ocean for the past 60 or so years. They survived through hunting and eating the sea terrors, and they were supposed to kill the small seaborn today, but because of the intrusion of Irene and the Hunters, Alfonso pauses as he realizes that the Hunters are not Aegers. He asks for Scotty's name, and Scotty replies, Scotty, but Alfonso says he's not stupid. The Seaborns call her Isharmla. He wants to know what it means. Scotty knows what it means. When she killed the Seaborn god, a part of it was left in her. Alfonso becomes enraged and tells them to get off his ship. He lifts his arm that has been converted into a Seaborn, saying that it has been talking to him about Scotty, and if they don't leave, he'll have to kill them to retain his humanity. Irene says he should cooperate with them as Iberia's hero, but Alfonso refuses. He doesn't belong with them or with the ocean. He only belongs to Stultifera Navis. Opian and Amaya arrive at the ship, with Amaya keeping the sea terrors at bay on the journey. As Gladia ventures deeper into the ship, she encounters Amaya, now revealed to be a bishop from the Church of the Deep. She knows that Gladia killed Quintus, but says that he was too hasty, and that was proof he was still human. Vestiges of the deep spread from under her feet. Gladia attacks her but is interrupted by the Seaborn. As she prepares to kill it, it continuously beckons her to return to the ocean, and bites off a piece of his own body, saying that feeding on it will turn her back to her original form. Gladia hesitates, and the Seaborn escapes. Spectre also senses Amaya's presence, and Scotty goes with her while Irene follows Alfonso and Garcia. She sees Garcia playing the piano and singing an Iberian march. It becomes startled when it sees Irene, but approaches her and places a hand on her head. Through his eyes, she could tell that they still had humanity left in them. Garcia hears a crash in the halls and runs to their captain, who is fighting the Seaborn. They bite down on it while Alfonso cuts through it. The sight of the Seaborn's severed tendrils made Garcia pause. For a second, they thought that they were biting his kin, and once again the Seaborn escapes. Alfonso notices Garcia's feelings, and tells them that having emotions is proof that they're still human. With the key, Gladia enters the core of Stultifera Navis, and finds the technology Brogan has left behind, as well as Opian. She asks what he is trying to do, and he says he's tackling the problem from a different angle. He reveals that during the battle when Skadi killed the Seaborn god, he sank into the depths with his corpse. There, he saw multiple Seaborn gods. As the Seaborns gestated, they called out a name: Isharmla, Skadi. He believes that the only way for them to survive is to find out the truth. The last night comes crashing down into the core, following the scent of the key. As a final advice, Opian tells Gladia not to return to Ager. They'll forever be chasing after something unachievable, like the knight attacking the ocean waves. Thanks to the influence of the ocean, Spectre regains all of her memories. The Seaborn appears again, persistent as ever, asking them to return. Alfonso is still wary of the hunters for essentially being Seaborns, but Spectre convinces him to let her fight to prove which side she's on. As the Seaborn escapes, it runs into Irene and tries to eat her, but Garcia blocks it with their body, and Irene blows a hole in it with her hand cannon. Amaya comes to save the Seaborn, and Spectre, recognizing her as the one who experimented on her in Salviento, fatally wounds her. The others corner the Seaborn, but it cuts through the deck and runs away. It finds Amaya, telling her to eat it to survive. However, Amaya says that the act of self-sacrifice isn't something inherently noble, but rather something that humans embellish to put themselves above animals. The Seaborn doesn't really understand, but it doesn't have to, as Amaya asks it to eat her instead. At the lighthouse, Jordi is forced to climb higher as the vestiges further encroach the building. Down below, Dario has run out of ammo, and his sword is rusted through. Watching the ocean, he reaffirms that humans won't be destroyed, and he too won't be destroyed. After clearing the town of Church of the Deep followers, Kelson and Carmen travel to the lighthouse. In a ring of fire, they find Dario's body. Even in death, the fire from his lamp continues to burn, defending the lighthouse from the sea terrors. Alfonso is shocked that the hunters managed to get into the core, saying that he threw away the key when the ship's engineer died. Gladia insists on taking the ship to re-establish contact with Ager, but Opian is not on board with the idea, and Alfonso refuses to give her his ship. The sudden onset of silence tells all of them that something is wrong. They head to the deck, where the clouds have cleared, and the ocean is calm. A Seaborn is floating through the air. It tells Spectre that Amaya has taught it everything, and once again invites the hunters to rejoin their kin, to become whole again the way life should be. No one is on board with the idea, and Opian strikes the Seaborn, but it deflects the hit and throws him away, then smashes Spectre into the deck. It has evolved to be faster and stronger than the hunters. Garcia tries to attack it, but is stopped by their Seaborn instincts. Knowing that they will turn soon, they tell Alfonso that they will die as an Iberian, before the Seaborn throws them into the ocean. Stultifera Navis begins to sink, and soon they will be completely surrounded by sea terrors. The Seaborn then turns towards Skadi, calling her Isharmla, and asks if she is their god. Skadi tells it that their god is dead, but the Seaborn says death isn't a concept that applies to their god. It has called out to Isharmla, and Isharmla has answered. The hardship we suffer is ever present. The life we desire is ever present. Skadi says again that she isn't Isharmla, and the Seaborn says it doesn't matter, and it will wait until the end of time if need be. Having no intention to actually kill the hunters, it only tries to dodge until Spectre finally cuts it down. Opian has taken the tech that Gladia needed. While the others swim away, Alfonso chooses to remain on the ship. As fire consumes him, he laughs, telling Irene to spread his story when she returns to Iberia, and takes his own life before the ship explodes. The Seaborn watches the ship go down. It prepares to take back Isharmla, but Garcia jumps out and drags it into the ocean. It beckons Garcia to accept their fate as a Seaborn, and just when Garcia's consciousness is about to be converted, Opian cuts through both of them. Garcia thanks him as they and the Seaborn shrivel away. Underwater, Irene sees a light from below. She looks down and sees a city. When they resurface, Geordi has come to rescue them in a boat, and they return to Iberia. Geordi, in the end, turns out to not be Brogan's descendant, but Carmen invites him to join the Inquisition, signifying Iberia's change in attitude towards the Aegers. Irene, on the other hand, resigns, citing that the position of the Inquisitor is unfavorable for continued contact with the Hunters. Gladia tells Chalced that what Brogan discovered is the connection between the Great Beasts and the Seaborn gods. Chalced says they cannot waste any more time. The problem of the ocean is on the same level as Originium, and they must overcome it for civilization to persist. The last knight stands in the ocean alongside Opian. The latter asks where they are headed, and the knight replies that a wave is coming, and they will defeat it. He will not allow the ocean to remain restless.